I got one final question. I know this is I know we covered a spectrum of things, but just interested to hear some feedback on this. Question number two, I issued out, and then we're gonna get ready to wrap this up. I know it's going back to the Breonna Taylor instance, so we started out with, but it kind of connects with everything as we've been tying in this and using it as a microcosm to reflect multifacets issues of lanes of society. But question number two, as with many instances involving issues and natures of this kind, there are many discrepancies due to conflicting reports, misinformation, deception, and inconclusive determinations. Due to these facts, why do you feel that people choose to believe whatever it is that they do in relation to either siding with the quote unquote law or the quote unquote people? Once again, as with many instances involving issues and natures of this kind, there are many discrepancies due to conflicting reports, misinformation, deception, and inconclusive determinations. Due to these facts, why do you feel that people choose to believe whatever it is that they do in relation to either siding with the law or the people?
Well, people tend to agree with what resonates with their core value, uh, and that's one of the things where, yeah, if it's a thing of where they feel wholeheartedly that law enforcement is the truth and you can trust it, and this is America, and this is how it works, and they take pride in that, then they're going to lean towards whatever law enforcement says, and whatever the report says. But then if you have people who have experienced different, to where that you have that experience that, hey, in my lifetime, this is what I've experienced with law enforcement, and it's been negative, 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 negative. It's like it's hard for me to trust. The trust is not there. So if I don't, based on my value and my experience with the law and law enforcement, and that's where I'm going to lean towards. It's like, some of the things, the different reports that come out, you'll tend to, if you have a positive experience with law enforcement, you're going to like, okay, I can go for that, even when there's discrepancies, because your feelings are now leaning toward what your experience is and what you value, and just it's like the other way around. It's like, okay, I've had some interesting negative experiences with law enforcement. So now when I hear this report comes out and there's a conflict or some discrepancies, it's like, they're doing it again, that type of deal. So yeah, I would say that's that's kind of a scenario as to why people respond the way they respond.
Yeah, the value is core. So okay, all right, Matt.
I think I agree entirely with Steve. I think that is, I guess you could say that's the individual experience, right? Like you're going to seek out people that agree with you based on their own life experiences. I think that is fundamental. I think second to that, and potentially this might be a reach, and I think it's on a very large scale specific to the United States, but from a very basic perspective, we have two parties in the United States. We have Democrats and we have Republicans. Obviously, you guys know that, but it's this or it's that. And I think that ethos, I think, insidiously just like develops the playing field. It's like you're either with us or you're against us, because if you're not on my side, that means you're on the other side. And I think that you take this individual experience, which varies incredibly widely, from the, I guess what you'd say, the white privileged experiences versus say the African-American experience. That's so fundamentally different that unless you've spent time with the other race, you don't comprehend. Like you don't even begin to understand the differences between the races. And then if you compound that with, it's this or it's that, you Democrat, you Republican, I think that's how you land where we are.
Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a biological component here as well. I think that it's been proven to a degree that how much empathy you are sort of capable of like within the bounds of reason, right, is like has a genetic quotient, right? And so that's why, like, no matter what your race is, doesn't really matter. You get varying levels of that empathy. And that amount of empathy can help predict which political orientation you will most likely fall into. And that's become more and more true over time, that people have found the matching political orientation. Why our like polarization is the worst it's ever been. Because before, you had all different types of people in the Republican Party, you had all different types of people in the Democratic Party, and now these people have all found their home. And if you're on one side of the issue, things like law and order, that's all you care about. Like, yeah, those other things sound messed up, but I can't have my law and order disrupted. Process, got to go by the rules. Everyone has to follow the rules, and it's just like all they can think about. And people on the other side of this issue are fairness, and like, what about, is it fair, and can other people survive, and is it good for the whole community? And these are just people's orientations for the most part. And like Matt said, if you only have those two choices, people like to buy the package deal. People don't want to have to think about individual issues at a granular way. And quite frankly, not everybody has the time or the resources. Like even now, what we're doing is a luxury. Not everybody has time to be on a phone, on a Zoom call for 3.5 hours talking about shit that doesn't make them money. And so they have to pick a package. And I think that's how you end up in these situations where people are like, dog, I've got 5 minutes to think about this. Left package or right package, and they pick a package and they go with it. And my mom was that package, well, then that's my package. And they just buy it hook, line, sinker.
Well,
yeah, you guys are interestingly, because you guys covered kind of like two different aspects, speaking to like the same thing. I think Steve kind of started it from like this experiential place where it kind of reminded me of this quote from David Foster Wallace, and I'm gonna butcher it, but he's essentially saying where the same experience can be interpreted differently by two different people who have two different belief templates and different ways of construing meaning from that experience, right? Like, we all experience our lives slightly differently. Some of us grow up around different groups, and, our belief templates are kind of governed by our experiences, and, it's easy to see that. And then, I'd like that Matt kind of like pointed out the way, like, and it's also kind of driven into like our political structure, right? Because we got two parties. We got effectively everything is, like you said, black or white, Republican, Democrat, progressive, conservative. And these tents are just, honestly, they're too big to cover like the nuances of like our socio-political environment, right? Like someone like AOC or Bernie Sanders, infinitely different from someone like Biden. And someone like John Kasich, is infinitely different from somebody like Trump. But because in order to, move things forward from a, political standpoint, you don't get like this, spectrum of choices. You got A, you got B. A is a lot closer to me than B. A is saying this is what it is. I'm running over there to A, And even though like you might not agree, like without getting overly political about it, like I'm voting for Biden. He does not espouse like a lot of my views. He just doesn't, right? Like he just doesn't represent them. But the other guy doesn't espouse any of them, right? So like I got no choice, right? I got to go with this tent, So I think a part of it, and the media kind of spins it this way too, right? Like, you can jump on Fox News and you've got one very tailored message and interpretation of how this set of facts is going to be, or you can jump on MSNBC and they're generally going to construe it that way. And that's where most of the population is hanging out, right? Like, to throw up your thing, you threw up your biased media. Like most people aren't hovering in that middle part, right? Like the majority of people are like that because that's the way our political system is kind of designed, which is crappy, right? You don't have a choice.
And I would say just an extension of political system is a reflection of just overall life. We're in a, you hear a lot of times, quote unquote, rat race. a race. You're chasing something. Most of the time, that is it's an illusion because you never really will obtain it. Because as soon as you get that one, it's a newer version that came out next year, so you got to get that one. So it's like a life of restlessness. You just chase it like a horse with a carrot with a stick in front, and you just keep trying to bite it, and you just can't bite it. So it's like a reflection, and it's this race is created. So when a race, we were talking about. I know Steve brought that up earlier. The connotation of the word race, indicates competition. When you're competing, you're just trying to pick up whatever's best to make you get the edge in your own way. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you don't even have, like you say, Charles, you don't even have a chance to look and pay attention to stuff. You're just trying to go and move and survive. You're like, hey, I got 5 minutes. I'm gonna pick one and I'm rolling with it. Like I'm out here and I'm in this game and I'm trying to keep my head above water or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So it's just this, and that's the part of it to me is the designing, because the US, in my personal opinion, it just works too much, man. I know some people be like, well, that's how the US got on top. Where we work hard and we keep working, but you look at other countries that doing straight, they don't work like this, man. Like, in some European countries, they take months off.
Dude, Matt and Adam are Canadians, so they can speak to this.
like, dog, it's just way too much. And this is what I mean about the lifestyle contributing to the overall oppression and deception, because it's pitted where people don't even have a chance to even breathe. Then most time they can't even. You can't work out. You got a family. If you got a family, multiple children, most people just live in check to check. They cut out their working out through the years. Their health deteriorates. They can't do anything but try to rest up and get gone real quick. Get on some bottle or get what you're gonna get on to feel good. Then you got to go to sleep and wake right back up and do it again tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So you're just living for the weekend, and this lifestyle, this false narrative, this fake race makes you where you can't even see anything real or real issues, and and basically you're in your mind just saying, well, hopefully it don't happen to me. You're just hoping, pretty much, and that whatever case that may be, and whether that's crime or getting the short end of the stick or whatever. Hopefully it don't happen to me. That's what everybody's pretty much doing in their mind. So and I agree with everybody. Just know that question comes down to your ideological background, your identity, what you identify with, and what makes you pick whatever side you do, and now and this is where we're at right now, because again, how you were raised, what values were instilled is going to determine, pretty much how you're going to walk that life in your days. So